Good evening. Welcome to the first episode of our YouTube channel MAST, MAST, which is an educational platform primarily dealing with maths and statistics. Today we will be discussing about a very pertinent and a very recent addition to the CBSE curriculum, applied maths. For discussions today, I have with me an ex-student who has secured more than 95% marks in applied maths. She and I will be discussing about the pros and cons of taking applied maths and how is it different from standard maths. So please watch this video to know more about applied maths and subscribe and share our channel for more such updates and interesting videos in the future. Thank you.
So, Korneeka, basically, now that CBSE has come up with the applied mathematics, a different subject, a different kind of setup, different chapters, what do you think is the change that has happened with the introduction of applied mathematics?
I think the change that they've done is for me as a commerce student, it would be more relevant for me to study what I may come across in college or in the future, something that is more relevant to me as a student. So in applied maths, there's the topics around financial maths, which will help me get a good base. It will prepare a good base for me, so that in the future, suppose I study something related to that, it will be easier for me to understand because that base is already prepared for me.
Correct. So basically, do you think that it is advantageous for students who are not in the science background to opt for a subject like applied maths?
Maybe not so much, but all like for them, maybe trigonometry and which is not there so much in applied maths. Those kind of topics might be more relevant to them if in their future, but it's not as much as for mine, like
Yeah.
financial.
So if students who are not in science, they opt for applied maths, they will be under a benefit, right?
Yes, in some aspects, yes, but also I think that financial maths and topics like that are just necessary for a person in general, so somehow it will still help, but maybe not to the extent of as much as standard maths might help them.
Okay. Now that you have studied applied maths for 2 years, given a board exam based on it, what is your assessment of applied maths as a subject?
I think yes, it's definitely a good subject, and I wouldn't say it is as very easy. Of course, in general, maths is a subject you have to practice, you have to go
Correct.
through all that, then only you can get a certain level of it. So definitely, I'm not saying it's very easy, but it's easier compared to, I think for me, standard maths might have been more difficult to understand. So I think in that aspect is easier and all, yeah.
But since, as you are mentioning, applied maths needs a lot of financial mathematics and stuff, do you think it is important that the CBSE also looks into the calculator part of it? Because you have, as you are saying, in chapters like compound interest, in chapters like others, where you need to make large calculations or complex calculations, the calculator should be inducted into the CBSE curriculum, especially for applied maths.
I think yes, definitely. The amount, if I go back to the time when I was writing my exams, and the amount of time I have given to calculations, because the numbers are longer and there are more decimal places, so obviously it takes a lot of time calculating. So uh, a calculator will definitely be much. It will make things much easier. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Now, since you have, because of your effort and all the hard work that you've put in, you have managed to score well. So, what do you think are the chapters, or what do you think is important to score well in a subject like applied maths?
Definitely, I think probability is where they put weightage, and then there's algebra in form of matrices and everything. So that's one thing one should focus on, and others also financial maths is given lot of weightage. So that is
Correct.
one thing. they should practice. And other than that, there's integration, and then there's derivatives, which require a lot of practice, and that focus should also be given to that. Yes.
Yes. So which are the topics where you focused your energy on, and which were the topics you thought that were relatively easier than the others?
I think the topics that I focused was there's matrices, that took a little time. The small properties that they're there, that I put my focus there. And then there's again, integration is one thing that I put my focus on. Derivatives and financial maths in terms of formula and understanding the question is very important there. So those, and some of the word problems relating to integration and stuff like that is where one should put their focus on, because they carry more marks, obviously.
Correct.
So that's fine. Otherwise, the subjects that topics that I thought were easier was index number is a very easy chapter, and there is numerical applications that with like time, speed, and board
Yes.
ups and downs. And those are things that you can easily do it once you get the trick of it. So those
Yes.
are few things that were easier compared to others.
Yes, you have topics like moving average, that means time series as well, which is pretty easy, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. And
and
there's linear programming also, which is comparatively easier.
yes, comparatively easier chapters. So basically, the focus should be on the integral, that is the calculus part of it,
Yes,
probability, which is more conceptual. So the conceptual portions are the ones where you need to stress
yes,
or put a stress on. Yes. So now that you have gone through, you have done plenty of sums on these chapters, understood which were the topics which you found difficult as per your own
I
assessment.
I found like integration a little bit difficult, lengthy, and even derivatives to some extent. And then there was definitely matrices that took some time for me to go through. And financial maths, there are formulas mostly. So, and then there is hypothesis that took a time, a little bit difficult to understand conceptually. That is one topic that was there, that posed a challenge. So yeah.
So when you are doing a chapter on financial maths, or chapters which are not that conceptual but involve formulas,
Yes.
how do you decide which formula to use, which formula not to use, and how did you recollect or manage to learn all the formulas?
The simple way to learn a formula in as what I do is just write the formula and put it in front of me and make sure I see it every day. And even if I don't maybe see it, maybe I do sums regarding where I make sure I write the formula along with the sum, so that with the same, so I can remember more easier. And that's one thing that helps. And also in regards to knowing which formula to use, it's mostly it's based on how, like, the keywords in the question. You have
Correct.
to go through the question and understand. And there are certain keywords, suppose it uses some word that may be associated with that formula, so you use it. It's basically a game of keywords and recognizing them.
Correct. Very well said. Game of keywords, game of understanding which formula to use, practicing, and as you rightly said, putting it in front of you so that you get to see it on a regular basis, and you remember it. Now,
Yes.
since you have scored more than a 90 in maths, a lot of people, a lot of students will think, okay, scoring math 90 is very difficult. Maths is generally a topic or a subject which creates panic among students. So
Yeah.
how did you manage to stay calm, relaxed, and be confident that okay, come what may, I'll be able to score good in mathematics?
Mathematics is a subject that, if you score well, you love it. It's like that
Correct.
because
Absolutely.
it's challenging in a way because it keeps you on your toes, like
Correct.
the
Correct.
formulas and all. And you definitely have to put in the effort and time and practice. And one thing to do definitely before the exam is to go through every kind of question, every kind of twist they can put in a question. You have to know it. You have to solve a question of that kind beforehand, so that when you go in the exam, it doesn't come to you as a shock key, oh, what is this? I didn't do anything like this. So that shouldn't be a problem and you should avoid it. So do kind of solve every kind of question there is. And also keep a check on the time you spend in every question. And maybe certain topics were harder for you, so make sure that you have like appropriate time given to that topic, and make sure you recognize those topics first of all. Key, okay, this is hard for me, this is not. So
Mhm.
according to that, to approach a paper like that, you once you read the question paper, you should know this question I can do. This question might not be that easy for me, so I'm going to do the questions which might not take so much time, and then in the end I'm going to do the questions that are difficult for me. So
Correct.
there is few points that you have to take care before the exam, and tackle it accordingly.
Correct. So basically, self-assessment of yourself and understanding which topics you are good at, which topics you are not, and then accordingly preparing for those topics, I think would be a better idea. Uh,
Yes, yes.
and as you rightly mentioned, to do a lot of sums, to practice a lot of sums, so that every portion is covered, every type is covered, and you are not quite caught and unaware in the examination
Yes.
hall. That is absolutely the way to go about. The other aspect that comes with applied maths, I think, is, as the name suggests, there is not much of trigo, there is not much of the calculus portion, the other aspects that are associated with the standard maths. So for students who are not that confident or not that strong in maths, I think applied maths poses a good option for them to,
Yes, definitely.
yeah, to go forward and keep a continuity, because maths is a subject, if you lose continuity, it's very, very difficult to get it back. So it gives a chance, an opportunity for them to maintain the continuity and take it forward.
Yes.
So we'll come to the last couple of questions. Korneeka, how did you prepare for your boards in mathematics?
I
Although you had two
took,
exams, yeah,
yes, yes.
and two exams can be a benefit as well as a curse. So
Yeah.
let us first discuss how you prepared for the second part of it, and then
The
we will discuss, was it a benefit for you that you had two exams, or was it something which was not that good?
I think the fact that I had two exams to write, uh, in a way, it burdens you that okay, even if I do this first term, there's one more term to take
Correct.
care of.
Mhm.
Also, your burden is less in the sense that at one go you don't have to prepare the entire portion, which
Correct.
can be heavy. So that is one. So there are obviously pros and cons to each of it. Like
Mhm.
it's obviously easier that your portion is divided, and it's
Mhm.
easier to tackle one half. And but then again, after tackling one half, you remember, oh, I have another half to tackle. So
Correct.
that you have to think through it. And also, because the first term was MCQ,
Mhm.
obviously things were much easier. But then it also became difficult because then the second term was not,
Mhm.
and then you had to go with the thinking care. Okay, I have not, done a subjective paper in of boards in so long. How do I? Will I do good? How will I do it? And all those questions do arise, but
Absolutely.
at the end at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have two exams or one. Just make sure that you give in your best no matter what.
Very true.
That's what's important to take care. Like at least okay, no matter the situation, I have done my best I could. And no matter the outcome, I'm satisfied with myself.
Absolutely. And how did you prepare yourself during the final phases of the exam? Just before the maths exam, maths was your last exam, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken. So how did
yes.
you gee yourself up or prepare, knowing that it is the last exam and maybe everything or a large portion of your result will depend on how you score in maths?
Yes, so luckily I had around 10 days gap
Yes.
uh, between the last two exams. And so, yeah, there was in also like there is like plenty of time, but that also makes you think, oh my, okay, I have tomorrow, maybe I'll do it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So just in one thing that I would say is that make sure you don't do that. Make sure, okay, maybe one day that day of the exam you take a break, but next day make sure you make a timetable, you make a schedule key in this day I'll complete this chapter and this chapter. So what I do is, if I have, suppose I have 2 days
Mhm.
of time, and then so so I'll divide half the time into giving into each topic.
Mhm.
So like maybe during one half of the day I'll complete like this part of the portion, and next part of the portion rest of the day, and I'll get over with the portion and
Mhm.
the half of the time that I have, and the rest half of the time, like the day two, I usually try to solve as many sample papers I can, and try to cover as many questions I can, and so be prepared. Also, like I know how much time I'll take to do the paper, how much time I'll have to recheck the paper. So that's why I do sample papers the
Correct.
rest half of the time. So that's how I go about in maths. Usually that's what I do.
Which were the books or the papers that you followed or that you,
I
yes.
Yes. Uh, from school they recommended we uh this APC ML
MNL.
Agarwal book.
Yes.
They have given from school that we should do this, but otherwise to practice I used Arihant mostly to do an exam idea. For term one I used, and for term two, yeah, Arihant I've used sample papers and stuff. And also their CBSE sample paper, which is very important to go through. Even the question bank they provide you, very important go through, because few questions are directly picked from them and they come for sure. So that's one thing that one should always do.
Great. Now coming to the last question, what are the tricks that one should follow to score more than a 90 or in the higher 90s as you did for a subject like applied maths?
I think the tricks I would say is definitely go through the CBSE paper and make sure the level of questions you solve is more than that they give in the CBSE question paper,
How do
like
you
the
decide
sample
on
paper.
that?
How you decide on that? When you normally solve a question, you understand the difficulty level, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
if I solve a particular question in the sample paper that CBSE provides, it should be easier for me compared to the questions I already do.
Correct.
So that I know that I'm a level above already of the CBSE. So that whenever, if they give a hard question to me in the papers, that they definitely do, I'm not unprepared. I know I still have that
Confident. Yes, yes.
confidence. Okay, I have solved this level of questions and I can still do it now. So you're not
Correct.
thrown off. And the one thing is to always keep a fresh mind,
Mm.
sleep well before the exam, very important. Don't go yawning during the exam and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's just be fresh and be calm. There's like, no matter what you do, just give your best and try to be level headed and tackle the questions strategically. Like, don't go in blindly ki, okay, I'm just going to do in this okay, and I'm going to do this question because that's easier, then I'm going to do this question that because that's not easier. No, not like that. Make sure you follow a pattern. Make sure if you're doing section wise, make sure you follow it. Like, don't go here and there in the paper. That will immensely make you lose marks, because even the corrector, like who's checking the paper, he'll also get confused, and then your marks are lost there. So make sure you follow the sequence. Don't jumble your paper. And if you are unsure, maybe in one question of that section, leave a good amount of space. And there's nothing wrong in leaving some amount of space and going to the next question and coming back to it later. So always sequence your paper, and go to according to sequence. It's easier for you and the examiner. And also make sure your paper is clean, because a shabby paper,
Very, very important.
yes, a shabby paper always makes the examiner go like, oh my gosh, what is this? Even if you try to correct your own paper, it will be like, okay, like that. So make sure there's certain level of cleanliness in your paper. I usually draw lines between questions, and I make a separate column for rough work, so that it's clear that here I did rough work and not on where I'm doing the question, because that will again make you confused. And even if you're rechecking your paper, then you'll also be confused. Okay, is this the rough work? Is this not? Is this the actual question? So it's clearer for you also that
Absolutely.
make us to recheck and stuff like that. So make sure you write it cleanly. You know where everything is, and it's easier for others also to see where everything is. So that's one thing one should always do. And yeah, make sure that you try to solve as many different kinds of questions there are in before the exam. And make sure you revise those kind of questions right before the exam, so that you don't forget there's a kind like this.
Absolutely. Yes.
And because if you have done it in the revision, suppose you're doing revision 2 weeks ago before the exam, and you have solved that kind of question, different kinds of question you have solved, that's good. But what if you don't remember that kind of questions in during the exam? Then there's no meaning of trying to solve so many questions. So make sure you revise those different kinds of question, and make sure you can do them right before the exam also. So that's one thing I would say to do. Yeah.
Great, Korneeka. This is coming from a student who has given her exam on applied maths, scored a good percentage of marks, sharing her knowledge, her experience for the students who would be giving their exams in the future. Great. Thank you, Korneeka. You have, as I always tell you, you have been a pleasure to work with as a student. And I think this things that you shared, I think that will be very, very helpful. Like, we being teachers, we teach them, we guide them, we show them what to do and what not to do. But coming from a student who has given her exam, who knows the in and out of the board exam pattern for applied maths, I think this will be much more helpful for them.
Yes, sir, definitely.
So thank you so much, Korneeka. Wishing you the very best for your future, which is very, very bright, I know. So
Thanks.
great. Thank you, Korneeka. And till we meet next time, bye-bye.
Bye, sir.